The following is a presentation of The Day.
Hey, I'm Rick Coster from The Day newspaper. I'm streaming to you via theday.com. It's the live lunch break. This is a special 4th of July edition of Live Lunch Break. What this means is that we're actually not live this week through the gracious extension of Peter, Emanuel, and James Hunter. We're doing this at the Williams School, and it's not really July 4th, but don't tell anybody. So one of the great things about Live Lunch Break is the variety of artists and styles of music that we've gotten to present to you guys. And for the first time, maybe ever, this is what I consider to be the real jazz. And this is Peter Emanuel and James Hunter. Enjoy. You're watching a special 4th of July episode of Live Lunch Break. My name is Rick Coster, and this is on theday.com. Thanks for tuning in whenever it happens. It's really not the 4th of July. Really where I am right now is somewhere with a beer and a hot dog. And that's probably where Peter Emanuel is right now, probably where James Hunter is. But for the moment, we're all together at the Williams School, and we are hearing some rather exceptional post-bop. Is that accurate?
That'd work.
Yeah? So you guys are obviously skilled musicians, familiar with the jazz songbook, so to speak. How hard is it to maybe not play together in a duo format or any other quartet or whatever for a while, and then just sit down and do what you guys do?
It's probably a tired cliche, but it's like riding a bike.
Yeah.
It's once you get to a certain point in your experience, I guess it would be, and especially if you've worked together as we have frequently, but not every day. Let's say every week. We know each other's styles. We know the basics of the tunes, so we're just able to click whenever we need to.
What were those first two tunes that we heard?
First one was One for the Woofer by a pianist named Billy Taylor.
All right.
Second one is called One Path, and it's an arrangement that James did of a tune written by a guy named Ludwig van Beethoven.
That guy.
Yeah.
That post-bop dude.
Yeah. Right.
Now, when we were setting up earlier, I made the ludicrous observation that, to a lot of people, jazz, particularly post-bop or free jazz, is almost like a foreign language that they don't understand, and sometimes it's sort of hard on the ears. To those who get into it and get more fluent, the beauty starts to surface. But I think it's probably the most difficult sort of music if you have children to say, my kids are just all over that Thelonious Monk. In your case, all four of your kids actually dig it and are musicians, correct?
Yeah, they've all done music throughout their lives. Two actually pursued it pretty much as careers, I guess you could say, throughout their high school and college years. I think it has a lot to do with exposure. It's a kind of music that, yeah, it's not going to just jump out at you, but if it's in the atmosphere, if it's in your environment, as it was for them with me growing up, as it was for me as a kid. I mean, what I heard as a kid was Miles Davis, almost,
really?
And Maynard Ferguson. My father was a trumpeter. So in addition to classical, so I think if you put those two together, your foundation for how to listen to the music grows.
And I love that you said that one of your sons has a Love Supreme on CD.
Yeah, he's got it on CD. I still have it on vinyl.
I've got the Black Album by Metallica on CD. Actually, I do have a Love Supreme. When you mentioned that you grew up on Miles Davis, I'm always interested because he went through some very distinct musical stylistic evolutions. Mm-hmm. I get the early stuff. I get the cool jazz. He starts to lose me with Bitches Brew.
Yeah.
Someone that's far more schooled, do you follow along and does it all appeal to you? Or
some of it appeals to me more than others, and if I'm going to look for more of a rock flavor in jazz, I probably won't turn to Bitches Brew. I might turn to something very directly related, which is more like John McLaughlin,
right.
Weather Report, for that sort of music. There was just something about Miles at that period that, to me, to a certain extent, just didn't strike
right.
it with me. Yeah.
All right. I actually saw the Mahavishnu Orchestra when I was in high school, and back then they didn't have security like you do now, and I just sort of wandered backstage. And I guess he was at the height of that spiritual experimentation, because when he came out after the show, he was all sweaty and stuff, but he had the Nehru jacket and he was holding like a white rose in his hand, and I thought, this guy is so peaceful. And they were on the bill with Jeff Beck, and they'd jammed together and stuff. So Beck wanders out of the backstage corridor right after, and he's got like a bottle of Jack and his arm around a blonde, and I'm like, well, I don't know which one of these guys is having more fun. But it was just an interesting juxtaposition. So as a pianist, a jazz pianist, who to you is the pinnacle? Is it somebody like Monk, or is it someone that's more, who would it be?
For me, there's always at the basis of it all is Duke Ellington. And then to move from there, Oscar Peterson, Bill Evans, those folks, Red Garland.
All fabulous.
Yeah.
So I am talking with Peter Emanuel, who is the piano part of the duet, along with James Hunter. We're privileged to have him with us on Live Lunch Break. The next break, we're going to talk to James a little bit about what he's got going on and his influences. And in the meantime, we would be very pleased if you guys would play us another song.
You got it.
This is Live Lunch Break at theday.com. I'm Rick Coster, and very fortunate today to be joined by Peter Emanuel on keyboards, James Hunter on bass. And this has been a treat because we get a lot of variety of artists and styles on this show. But I don't know that we've ever had two so fluent a jazz artists before, and it's quite a privilege. So in the last segment we talked a little bit with Peter. I'd like to talk to James for a second now, because for 14 years I made an idiot of myself for a living playing bass in a rock band. Nothing near like what you're talking about, but I remember the first time I ever heard a bass, even though everybody else was like, I want to play piano or guitar or whatever, I thought the tone is so warm and familiar, and it had me. What about you? What did the bass, how did you get attracted to it?
Well, yeah. I think when I was 16, I wanted to play the bass guitar, and the only thing that I could get my hands on at school was a bass fiddle. And I thought if I started playing the bass fiddle, my parents would somehow realize that we got to get them a bass guitar.
Even then, the brain was working in devious ways.
But they never caught on for some reason. So I got to love playing this, and I wanted to play in the orchestra, and so I got a little bit more technical, and then just playing the 1-4-5 chord, that sort of thing. It was a jazz band in high school at that time at New London High, and there was a guy, Mike Marsden, who was, I thought he was just a great god of the bass. and I couldn't wait to get a bass guitar to play like him. But he moved away, he sold me his bass guitar and stuff, but I still was thumping on this, you know, through that time. Yeah.
It's just, you know, I think a lot of people, and I certainly count myself among them, as I got more educated about jazz or the role of bass in an ensemble, by which I mean largely rhythmic and percussive. And then I found out, wait a minute, all these great songs are being written by Mingus and Charlie Hayden. And then the second tune you guys did, you arranged the material. So how does the compositional angle work from a bass perspective? Does that make sense?
Well, my first attempts were in high school, because I noticed that some genres weren't being tackled there, and soon I liked really much was Respect by Aretha Franklin. We're talking back, and I was in high school and from 69 to 72. Right. And so I took it upon myself to arrange for the jazz band at school, and so I had to learn, you know, how you write for this and how you write for this, what the ranges were and that sort of thing.
Fabulous.
You know, and that's how I got started on that. You know, I just want people to play something that I liked. You know.
Oh, that's cool. Well, you know, out of necessity, we talk about the dynamics of when you are just in a duo situation. Obviously, you get your rides, and Peter gets his rides. But how free are you as the bottom end while he's maybe soloing or improvising? How much do you have to stay in the? You got to stay in the pocket, but do you have to stay right on the chords, or can you play around a little bit?
Well, I think as you get older and your musicality grows, and the basic things like keeping the beat, knowing where the beat are, and knowing where the harmonies and things like that, you're able to do better, and you're more able to listen.
Right.
So if I hear him doing a certain rhythmic feel, I could go with him on that and then get right back into where I'm supposed to be. There is a thing where if we were strangers and didn't know him, I guess I would stick more to playing the bass part until I feel that we're kind of in that little pocket thing that they say. Yeah.
It's got to be just a marvelous feeling. Oh, it's like.
Well, it's kind of like sports. Everybody knows the rules,
right?
And everybody knows the rules basically, and they know that you go up and down, and throw it in and stuff.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, I asked Peter about his favorite pianists, and I mentioned Haydn and Mingus. Who to you is Ron Carter?
The first bass player that I really liked hearing was Sam Jones, and then Ron Carter. Well, there was a guy playing on. They used to play this record when I was in high school, and I used to wonder who that bass player was. And then one day, the music director gave me this was back in this is probably before your time when they had these big things called records, and
believe me, James, I had the thousands of them. We're about the same age, brother.
In those days, on the back, they told you everything
Right.
was there. So he gave it to me, and it was a guy named Ray Brown. And I said, oh, wow. And so I went out to the music store in downtown. There was Harry's music store. And I said, do you have any Ray Brown records? Well, he said, well, you know, Ray Brown plays on, he doesn't have any records of his own,
right.
That we carry anyway. And so he pointed me to things that he did, and there was this one by, I can't think of the guy's name right now, but there was this one record where there was this tune called Walking, and Ray Brown was the bass player on that. Boom, boom, boom. And I used to sit at home, and I didn't know the notes he was playing, but I used to sit and just try to keep the beat with them and stuff like that, you know. And yeah, Ray Brown.
Fabulous.
Yeah. But then, you know, we all had our Jaco Pastori's time, you know.
It's another one I saw live.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jaco was something else.
Yeah, and,
Can you slide across the stage like him?
No, I never did. Never went that far. Went that far.
Well, it has been a real pleasure to have you guys today. Again, we are with James Hunter and Peter Emanuel.
Oh, I forgot one thing.
Yeah.
Peter Emanuel and a few other people we're going to play on July 4th.
On July 4th?
Which would be
today. Tonight, yes. Where at?
At the Steak Loft.
At the Steak Loft.
7 to 10.
So, yeah, be at 7 o'clock tonight, July 4th, at the Steak Loft. So, one more tune, guys? Two more? All right, cool.
What we got? Okay. Yes.
Outstanding. James Hunter on bass, Peter Emanuel on piano. An all too brief but whitewater raft down the galaxies. Wait, that's a mixed metaphor. Anyway, great post-bop, great jazz standard songbook stuff. You guys are outstanding. Thank you both for being here. Tonight they'll be at the Steak Loft here. Happy Independence Day. I'm Rick Coster for theday.com. This is Live Lunch Break, and next week we will have Vincent Tuckwood. Join us.